Welcome to season 1 of More Money.
So guys, we're actually here to talk to you about something super, super important today. And it's actually my favorite topic. Roy's bald. Look at this guy. This guy has no more hair.
I shaved my head.
Went from 40% hair to 0.
You haven't had 100% hair in like 25 years.
Yeah. So yeah, that's basically it. I guess that's the episode.
All right, hey, let's wrap it up, man. We can get to bit more important things.
So man, today, dude, I feel like the last episode was such a hit, bro.
Yeah.
I feel like the last episode was really, really good stuff, especially talking about NBA annual, getting all those things done. But today, man, I feel like today is going to be even better. What do you think?
Hey, listen, every day in the pit here is a better day.
Every day in the pit is a better day. Life goes on. That's what you say.
Yeah, man, life goes on.
Well, I think we got to fix this a little bit here. Make sure. Oh, look at that. So you guys can read it. If you guys can't read this, it's more lending. But yeah, so today we're actually going to be talking about some stuff in the industry that's actually going to affect you directly as a loan officer.
Sure.
And those items are some big pieces of news, maybe some regulatory changes that we're going to just throw ourselves on top of for a bit.
Okay.
But mainly, let's talk about this realtor settlement thing that just happened.
Yeah, that was big. So that's been going on for a little while now, right? The cases kind of come to an end as far as an initial verdict from the jury. Jury answered yes to all the questions that was asked in regards to whether they
Whoa. Let's back up.
Yeah.
Let's back up.
Yeah.
What is we talking about?
Oh, what are we talking about? What is we talking about? There was a class action lawsuit filed by about 250,000 people. I believe the case was tried in the state of Missouri, and it was about sellers of homes being, I guess, I want to call it forced, or want to call it, made to pay a specific percentage for the sale of their home. And that was particularly because they had to also pay the buyer side agent's cut that the listing agent and the buyer's agent, work out amongst themselves. Named in the lawsuit were like 4 of the biggest real estate firms in the U.S. Also, NAR the National Association of Realtors was named. And, this thing's going to have a lot of repercussions that will reverberate through the entire industry. I do believe that that's going to be the case. I don't know what it's actually going to shake out to be, but we do know that some things came up already, and we'll get, I guess, deeper into that as this conversation goes on.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
That's the major gist of it is, why'd you make me pay for somebody else's agent, right?
Yeah. So, but basically what we're kind of talking about, right, is that in most transactions, if you're a realtor or you're a lender, you're very used to the fact that the seller is paying the commission for both parties of realtors. That's just what everybody's used to. I mean, I've been in the business for 3 years. I have never seen it done any other way, truly. So that's maybe to yourself, you're like, oh, but that's how it's done. That's how it's normal. But the sellers finally stood up and said, why am I paying for somebody else to do the work? Why am I, which it doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, to me, it makes a pretty good amount of sense where I'm saying, hey, why am I paying somebody, what's the average cost of a home? $400,000?
Yeah, $425. Yeah, something like that.
$425. Why am I paying somebody almost $15,000 for something that they didn't do for me? So that's what we're getting into today. And I think it's a pretty hot topic, especially with what's happening, especially at $1.78 billion class action settlement.
Yeah, so when the jury actually came to a conclusion, the fine or the settlement amount was $1.87 billion, and the judge has the ability to triple that because of the antitrust lawsuit that it falls under, or the antitrust law that it falls under. So I mean, that could be $5.3 billion, if they were to use the maximum.
Oh, wow. So 5.8 billion. So let's talk about, and I know we've spoken a little bit about it within us in the office, right?
Right.
What are some repercussions that are going to be coming out of this? Like, what are we seeing?
Well, I mean, okay, so let's talk about repercussions, man. I mean, most of it's going to be speculation, right? Until somebody actually puts it out there that this is what they're going to do, most of it's going to be speculation. What do we know so far? We know that pocket listings are going to be, or are gone, right? So off-market listings, whatever you call it, wherever you are in the U.S., but those are going to be gone, meaning that, if somebody's listing their home, they've got to list it on the MLS or the multiple listing service.
That's big, but that's something else, right? That's something else completely, because that's even bigger, what we're going to get into.
Absolutely. That's even bigger. So that's the only thing we know for sure. I mean, there are a couple of other ancillary things, but I don't think they make as big of a splash as this whole pocket listing thing does. The pocket listing thing, out of the things we know are going to happen, is probably the biggest thing.
So you were just at MBA Annual. You're talking about technology. On our last podcast, we talked a lot about technology and how lenders are doing it, right?
Yeah.
So with the pocket listings being illegal now and going into 2024, that you as a realtor cannot operate and you cannot represent a buyer with a listing that's not on the MLS, correct?
Yeah, so I don't want to call it illegal yet. I just want to say that it's part of the lawsuit. It was in the court records that was not going to be allowable. Illegal meaning that they make a law for it, but I don't know if they're going to make a law for it. Right now, it's just something that has come out of this case as not allowable.
Okay.
So we know that that's going to become a thing, and that's gonna have heavy repercussions, right? I mean, think about it. We might see the MLSs contract, and by contract, I mean maybe one or two big players are going to come out and buy all the MLSs throughout the United States, right? And
how many MLSs are there right now?
oh man, there's probably over 400, 500 of them. I mean, they're regional. Some places have smaller MLSs. A lot of people are used to the MLS that they hear about, which is, mostly controlled by NAR or guided by NAR. But there are a lot of regional and local MLSs that are not part of that sentence when you say the MLS, right? So
is Zillow considered an MLS?
I guess Zillow is a type of MLS, right? If you're a for sale by owner, then Zillow is your MLS, right? There are FSBO MLS sites, but Zillow's probably where you're going to go.
MLS, for those of you that don't know, stands for multi-listing service.
Multiple
listing service. Yes, thank you. So multiple listing service, generally pertaining to listing properties on the, web or whatever forum you want to put it at that you're going to be selling your home. Realtors generally use a multiple listing service to list homes for their clients, and that's how they advertise it. That's how they get people to look at. So it's what they look at there. So that's for those of you that didn't know.
Sure.
So Zillow being the multiple listing service for sale by owners, right? So now that they say, hey, there's no more pocket listings, what do you think is going to happen?
Well, so Zillow is one of the places that people like to list their home for sale if they're going to list it by themselves, right? And for all these years, it's been very difficult, right? If you're listing your house for sale and a realtor calls you and they say, I want to list your house, and you're like, no, I listed the house on my own, that they're not going to say anything to anybody, which means you might not get as much visual traction. But times have changed, right? Like, I've sold houses multiple times throughout the years, and I'll tell you that more often than not these days, we don't even call the realtor anymore. We just kind of look ourselves on Google, usually on Google first, and then it'll take us to Redfin or Zillow or something else, right? Yeah, and then we'll click on that. We'll check to see maybe it's been on the market for X amount of days. I mean, you get all the information that you really need. I can say maybe Zillow, Redfin, all those things aren't 100% accurate because maybe it's not updated as quickly as the MLS is, but that's just somebody coming in and being able to change their procedure well enough so that it is accurate to the day you're looking at it.
It's true.
So, I mean, there's that change. Biggest change, I think, is the consolidation, right? I don't know who it's going to be. Maybe it's Amazon. Maybe it's Zillow. Maybe it's Redfin. Amazon. I mean, Redfin, I believe they came out and said that they were a proponent of this whole thing happening.
I think Redfin just bought like an app for real estate. So they bought something crazy. It might have been Redfin or Realtor.com. I don't remember, but I feel like that push that you're talking about is coming on. It's coming closer.
I work with a company called Proply AI, and they are doing exactly that, right? They're doing all the listing work for the realtor through AI, right? So instead of having to hire a VA or an assistant or somebody else to come and type this stuff up and make you a nice, beautiful paragraph with photographs and all that stuff, Proply AI as a technology does that entire thing for you. You say, here's the address, and that thing goes out and finds all the existing generic photos for homes that fill that void or that space. It checks for the neighborhood pictures from Google and other places, and then takes renditions of it, creates its own based off of that information that's out there. And boom, you got a listing with photographs, with a full paragraph of, hey, this is why it's wonderful to live here. It takes into account the schools, the neighborhoods, all that stuff.
Everything in there.
I mean, it's kind of scary to think that is, able to capture the knowledge of the neighborhood, which we've relied on local people for as long as I can remember, right? That's kind of like, whoa, what's happening here? But at the same time, it's happening. Right?
Yeah, because you got Google Earth now, you got satellite imaging, obviously AI integrated with Google Earth. You could do all that. Actually, Elon Musk said that in the future, you're going to have a job just to not be bored, but because AI can do everything. So it's kind of crazy to think about, right?
Yeah.
So thinking about it there, right? Our viewers are mostly real estate agents, mortgage loan officers, people of that nature. We like to keep them up with updated news. So let's kind of talk about what type of repercussions they're going to face, right? Or how to adapt in the new coming age, right?
Talk about how to adapt, right? So I think, I've advised a couple of my realtor or real estate friends to, take the plunge and go start their own thing now.
Go start your own thing now.
Yeah, go start your own
Realtors,
thing.
you listening? Go start your own thing right now, and he's about to tell you why.
I mean, think about it. If there are things like Properly AI out there that are taking away the need to have that local knowledge because it's already bringing you the local knowledge, then why does a broker owner need to have so many realtors when they can just have an assistant that goes, push the button and here's the listing? Whoa. Now, I know it's not that simple, right? Maybe he does or she does need to have a realtor on hand to say, hey, yes, this makes sense. This is exactly what I know about the area. But that's short-lived because once the broker owner starts feeling like, hey, man, this thing works, I don't need somebody to check it, I don't see that being a long-term thing, right? So you got to start to figure out how to change your viewpoint, change the way you're doing business. One of them is, hey, go out on your own, start to use these technologies ahead of time, and, maybe you're ahead of the game when it happens, right? So that's from a broker owner perspective.
I've been saying that, man. I've been saying it so much. And one of the reasons that we're doing this podcast as well is, yes, it's an unselfish motive that we want to give you all the free tools and knowledge that we can to make this the most effective video for you. But selfishly, we're doing this to stay on exposure at all times. We have realized that consumers now, all right, you're talking about getting a mortgage 10 years ago, 5 years ago even, right? You're talking about people that said, hey, who did you use to buy your house? Great, give me that person's number. I would like to use that person because you have used them and had a great experience. But now, it's not that trend anymore. Now it's Google.com saying, hey, who is the best mortgage loan officer in the area? Miami mortgage loan officer, Miami mortgage this, Miami mortgage that. So if you don't have yourself in front of that search engine, right, with details, with videos, with looks, you're never going to be found, right? And then you'll start getting sidetracked. Yes, your referral business may be strong, and that's going to be good for a while. Referral business isn't going to die out. It's not going to die out, right?
No.
But let's talk about future-proofing your business. I'm talking about 24-year-old that needs to make money for the next 50 years, not 50, hopefully not that long, but needs to make money for the next 20 to 30 years.
Wants to make money for the next 50 years.
Wants to make money for the next, but a 24-year-old that wants to make money for the next 20 to 30 years, I got to ask myself, how can I stay relevant for the next 20 to 40 years?
Right.
What am I doing to stay relevant? What is my company doing to stay relevant? So when somebody searches up mortgage, right? Hopefully they just look up more, but mortgage, I want more lending to be the first ones. And then when they see these videos, they're going to see, oh, these guys know what they're talking about. Yeah. These guys are good. That goes from the sense of whatever people want to use. When loan officers want to come on board and they're saying, oh, what do they offer? Well, this is the knowledge that we offer in that big head of his. Look at that. This is so fun. But we want to be able to that. And then on top of that, guys, these videos are posted on YouTube. If you're probably watching this, you're either watching it from a LinkedIn promotion that we had, from a YouTube promotion, from maybe a reel that was there, but it's on YouTube. And you know who owns YouTube?
Google. Yeah.
So that makes YouTube, by association, the second largest search engine in the world.
That's true statement. As a matter of fact, speaking of that, if you're watching this on Google or YouTube, make sure you hit the like button down below and, maybe share the video.
share the video, man. Yeah, sure. I think this helps a lot of people. We're just really trying to keep up current. There's so many podcasts out there of loan officers trying to say, how can I make you the best loan officer? How can I make you this? Look, guys, we're giving you the secret sauce to what we're doing. We're talking about actual news events that can affect you, affect your real estate partners, and the things that you can use. Something that's really cool that you may want to consider, right? And it's actually a pretty dope thing that you could do. So Roy has a Wednesday newsletter that he does every Wednesday. So if you want to sign up to that newsletter, comment below and we will put you on the mailing list for that newsletter. We'll have Roy send out that email to you. But here's the super dope part. If you want to create your own newsletter, you can actually get the transcription of this entire video on YouTube, plug that transcription into ChatGPT, and make ChatGPT give you a newsletter.
Yep.
And now you can make 2 or 3 or 4 newsletters, use the information that we have here, and send it out to your agents for free.
And the crazy part about that is Joel just gave you an easy way to get some free marketing out there for yourselves. You don't have time for that. You don't have the ability to do it. You're not sure how to work ChatGPT. Leave a comment in the comments below and let Joel know, hey, listen, is there any way you could help me? Joel also happens to own Golden Light Media, which is a media company that can actually help you with that kind of thing. And you can hire him to do that. So there is a lot of that out there. Now, again, we're not out here trying to sell you anything. We're just letting you know that we do that kind of thing. So if you want to get in touch with us, get in touch with us. But we just told you how to do it. So you can do it 100% on your own. Yeah. Get really good at figuring out how to write prompts within ChatGPT, and you'll be able to generate that same type of newsletter. Now, not the same type of newsletter. Mine comes with a lot of charisma, and I write it all myself.
It's got pictures.
It's probably the only thing I don't use ChatGPT for.
It's got pictures. It's very cool. Yeah, but the most important part is, and getting good with ChatGPT, that's AI right there.
Yeah.
ChatGPT can write a listing for you. Yep. It can literally write an entire listing for you. We've done contracts on it. I've done papers on it. I've done drip campaigns on it. Pretty much done everything on ChatGPT. There's just writes all out for me. So that's the secret sauce to already getting acquainted with AI. If you're a realtor, as a mortgage loan officer, getting equipped with that. But funny enough, mentioned Golden Light Media. That is what we do. So I have a social media production agency and disposition company, I would say, that helps mortgage companies and individual loan officers create content like this, cut it up, and actually disposition it out there to stay top of mind in this type of business and build your brand. MOR Lending, because of what we do right here, is a brand. Yep. Because of what we have going on right here, we are building a sustainable brand. It's not going to be quick. It's not going to be fast, but we're building something here that when the word MOR comes up, it's not going to be mortgage. It's going to be MOR Lending.
Yep.
That pops up. So my team actually cuts and edits these videos. We post it on YouTube. We actually create the whole thing. So Roy just literally needs to sit in our studio, which is in our office. That's the coolest part, for about 30 minutes once a week. And then he's done and never needs to see it again. And is getting a bunch of likes and posts. And he's like, oh, people are commenting about the podcast. I don't even know you put it up.
Yep, that's true. And then, then we share it amongst most of the people that work here and put it on other platforms. And we just create the buzz that way. And we do that for other people too. I mean, I probably follow about 5 or 6 other podcasts that over the weekend I put on my AirPods and listen to whatever it is that they're talking about.
Some pretty smart people. So
yeah, man, we get a lot of feedback from people who are doing a lot of other podcasts within our space, and a few that are not in our space. So that's kind of cool too.
I love that. I'm very, very big into listening and promoting and collaborating with other people and growing with people and just doing that. And I think right now, if you're a loan officer, or not even a loan officer, honestly, if you're a broker owner and you have your own company and your company is a name, the number one thing you need to be doing is you need to have a podcast. I know it's overplayed. I know you don't want to do it. You've probably been in the business for 20 years. You never done business this way, yada, 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 whatever it is. I know it all. I've heard of it. Yeah, I've heard it all, right? You need to have a podcast. Why? Number one, this podcast is just me and Roy, really. We'll start bringing on guests soon enough. But right now, it's just me and Roy. So really, it's not doing what the purpose of what I'm about to say. But you want to have a podcast because now you can invite different guests on. You can provide a different value that is not provided, right? Real estate agents, you can provide them cut up videos. You can provide them content creation, right? If you want to meet a new realtor and you want to collaborate with them, come on board. I have a podcast. I would love to have you on and hear your insight. Now the realtor's like, oh, you don't want to take me out for coffee and lunch because that's boring.
Yeah.
You know?
You can also offer time to, your realtor friends. Say, hey, listen, I know a studio out there that you can rent. It's probably one of the least expensive in the entire Miami market. And, you go out there, rent the studio itself and, create footage that Golden Light Media would create on your behalf and get back out to you. So, there are a lot of options to be able to get content out there, whether it's short form content, long form content. This is long form content, guys. So, being able to do that is imperative in today's market. So that's one thing that we just talked about, which is broker owners going out on their own, using AI and social media to, push themselves and promote their brands to get ahead of what may be coming. Yeah.
What may be coming. What is coming.
We get back on topic to the original question. What else has happened? We got Remax. Remax made the announcement, and Remax was one of those 4 companies that had, that was part of the lawsuit, the class action lawsuit. And they actually bowed out in settlement ahead of the verdict, right? Or ahead of the case closed.
It was like $80 million though, right?
I don't remember if they were the 53 or the 80. I think they were the 53. I think Anywhere Real Estate was the 80 something.
Oh yeah, you're right.
And
it's been what, like 4 or 5 now?
There were 4 big players named in that class action. 2 bowed out in settlement and 2 rode it out all the way to the end. The 2 that bowed out were Remax and Anywhere. The 2 that stayed to the end were Keller Williams and Berkshire Hathaway.
They shouldn't bow out.
Yeah, I mean, looking at hindsight is hindsight, right? Who knew it was going to go that way? They should have bowed out instead of getting hit with a $1.87 billion fine. And when you think about that, Remax and Anywhere were the smarter of the 4. They got out with a less than $100 million fine. These guys got a fine. Those 2 companies left over got a fine that was
almost 20 times.
Yeah, it's almost 20 times the amount.
Whoa. That's insane, right? Whoa. And something that he's told me so much is that you're going to read these things on the site, and you're going to read that Berkshire Hathaway and Skies, you said?
No, it's Keller
Williams. And Keller Williams are going to appeal this to see if they can overturn it.
Yep.
But here's the key. Here's the tip. Remax and Anywhere already settled. Yep. They already said, we're guilty of it. Take it. That's it. That's what they did. So regardless if they appeal, they've already said that this is guilty.
They basically set a precedent, right? Like, hey, listen, we know we did it. We're just going to settle and walk away.
Yeah.
So now it's harder for anybody to appeal this. Also, I'm not caught up at the moment, but from what I've quickly seen online, there are another handful or more new cases coming to the judicial system in regards to this. So probably other class action groups in other states going after the same type of thing. And mind you, the home seller in the settlement gets, or in the fine, the $1.87 billion piece, gets about $2,000 per class action member, right? So that's not like going to your Facebook class action and getting your 2-cent paycheck that they send you. That's $2,000 coming back to you that you probably spent paying the buyer side agent or somewhere else in your closing costs. But this specifically is in regards to the buyer side agent. So that's interesting to see too, right? But Remax, man, they changed their procedures. They already made the announcement to their team saying, you don't have to be a member of NAR anymore. And the Real Deal just came out and said, hey, you know what? Let's go start our own thing. So they're looking at starting their own version of NAR. That's another big deal.
And now NAR, for those of you that don't know, is the National Association of Realtors, one of the biggest realtor organizations, if not the biggest realtor organization in the United States. So that's big news.
Yeah, and if those of you in our area, you want to make sure that you are understanding everything that's going on, the Real Deal Conference is coming up. Go check it out. All of you that are realtors or real estate agents out there, the Real Deal Conference is coming up. You can go check that out somewhere here in South Florida. I'm not personally attending, but a couple of my friends that are realtors are attending that conference, and I just recently saw the announcement that said, hey, what do we need NAR for? We could start our own thing for, And
there's a lot of people going to that, too.
Yeah. I think...
he is not sponsored by The Real Deal.
Yeah, no, I'm not sponsored by anybody.
He's just sponsored by RG.
Yeah. And that's why I don't feel too much pressure about, just regurgitating what's already out there, right? I don't care that I said anybody's name out loud. It's already... Google, it's coming up, right? So I'm not telling you anything that isn't already public.
Oh yeah, one thing that you guys will start to learn and notice on this podcast is that we're uncut. We, the amazing part about having our own shop and having our own business and being certain and being right and true in everything that we do is that we understand that we can say things without repercussions and that we'll never renounce all our feelings. I don't even know.
I don't know what you were trying to say, but listen,
Renounce.
we don't say anything that is going to get us in trouble. We usually only put out public information. And then, we opine on something. We never make an assumption as to what anybody's doing. And that's part of the reason we started this by saying, hey, we don't know what the fallout's actually going to be. We don't know what the rules are actually going to be. The only rule we know so far is that pocket listing thing. Everything else will come in time. Listen, they are going to try to appeal. And I don't know how far that's going to get. Nobody does at this point in time. It's hard to appeal something when other people are going after the same lawsuit. It's like, what are you appealing? Other people are going after the same lawsuit. If those other lawsuits start winning, the judge you're going in front of, they got nothing to stand on. What are you appealing? Other judges in other places are now ruling the same way, and you're like, oh, man.
Yeah.
What would work beneficially to those that are trying to appeal is if there are judges in other states who don't rule the same way, or juries in other states who don't rule the same way. So that could be beneficial, but right now...
To keep you guys kind of ahead of the curve, right, and monitoring the situation, because we don't know what's going to happen. But if they do rule and they do get sued and everything does go according and they are fined the amount of money, you're probably going to see a lot of policy changes for buyers and buyers agents having to pay real estate fees, having to pay these real estate fees, which is going to heavily create not more competition, less competition again, because you're going to price even more people out of the market.
I don't know. I think it really depends on how you look at it, right? If it's more about, hey, buyer side agents have to get paid by their client and not by the seller's client, well, then now you have competition over here because a buyer side agent could say, I will be your real estate agent for less than 3% or less than 2% or less than whatever they want, or maybe it's a flat fee. The same notion can be had for the listing side agent. Hey, you're listing my property. You're not doing anything else. I don't need you to do anything else. Just put it out there as a listing. Now that's a flat fee or an hourly rate. Any of these things can happen, right? So we got to wait for it to pan out. Another thing that could happen that we didn't even think about until I just came to my head. Some real estate agents or realtors or broker owners can go this way and say, hey, listings are a flat fee. And some could go the other way and say, hey, we don't pay buyer side agents anymore. You got to work that out with your buyer.
Yeah.
All right. So it could be different depending upon who you work for.
I think, but for the most part is that you guys have to think about, all the realtors watching this got to think about these types of repercussions, got to think about what is going to be those next steps for you in this process. And if that's going to be where, let's say, you're going to have to be paid by the buyer side, well, what's going to happen? What can be the repercussions? There's going to be less real estate agents that are going to make it, right? So how do you differentiate yourself, right? If less real estate agents are going to make it and the multiple listing services is going to be open to everybody, because now there's going to be one or two, right? Now I, as the consumer, have access to the multiple listing service. You no longer have some exclusive access there. AI is giving me the rundown to all the neighborhood, the reasons I want to live there, the school grades, all this detailed analysis and report of what they're giving me, right? So now I'm saying, hey, I only need a realtor because I don't know how to draw a contract, so I don't know how to do anything, right? Now you're thinking to yourself, okay, but you could just hire an attorney for a flat fee and they'll do the same thing and they'll represent you on the whole contract and get the title. So now you got to think of yourself as a real estate agent. If all of these things were to happen, how can you make yourself a necessity? How can you make yourself crucial? And to me, I personally think is that you need to find either partnerships with title companies and attorneys. You need to create a really good understanding of AI. You need to create an understanding of AI that's going to increase your volume, and you need to do a continuous work of outbound marketing where now you're in front of thousands of people at all times, because technically, if you're just drawing up contracts and you're doing AI, you actually have a bigger bandwidth where you can actually, you don't have to show the property. You can actually start being licensed in other states.
That's actually a great idea. It's one of our realtor friends is already doing that, right? He is actually just offering a service of contract review only for a flat fee. This is probably one of those secret sauce things that you need to add to your repertoire if you're not already doing it, right? I mean, you're a licensed realtor. You have the authority to be able to review a purchase contract and say, hey, this, and that. So that's a great service to provide and still be able to be in a transaction that you may not be in from a real estate agent's perspective other than a contract review, right? So, I mean, that's a cool thing to put into your, list of services that would really, really, benefit you long term. And again, depending upon how all this shakes out.
Yeah. So we're about to wrap it up here. Just a final thought. One thing that I did want to tell loan officers that we've been discussing, man, if you're a loan officer and you can get your real estate license, go do it. The fact that you can draw up a purchase contract for a client, represent them in some sort of a transaction as a realtor and the loan officer, you're going to be providing double value. And if the buyer's agent now doesn't have to pay you for real estate services, but can pay you for mortgage services, your business can triple or double because you're always going to be beating out people. No more interest rate shoppers, no more different fees because now you're saving them a ton of money.
Yeah, one last thing I'm going to leave you with. A lot of people are saying, hey, this is going to be not a good thing for the home buyer, right? The home buyer already doesn't have enough money for closing costs, doesn't have enough money to come to the table. Now they got to pay a realtor on their own, out of their own pocket. Well, listen, it says that a listing agent, isn't going to be paying a borrower side or buyer side agent, right? Again, we don't know if that's exactly how it's going to play out, but that's the gist of this all. It doesn't say that a seller can't still give a seller credit. So that's still there if you can negotiate a seller credit with the seller. So
absolutely. A ton of different things that are happening, but I think the three main things that we just want to leave you with is number one, stay on top of the rules and regulations that are happening, the different changes in the industry that are going to affect you, your realtor partners, and all that. Number two is get ahead of the curve. Start using social media. Start using golden light media. Start figuring ways how to be top of mind, creating new relationships, creating new opportunities, especially with being top of mind in branding, search engine optimizations, being in front of YouTube and all that. And number three, what do you think number three should be?
If you need help with any of this stuff, reach out to us. 305-507-1010. Again, more than happy to help you with what we talk about. Watch the podcast. Get in touch with, anybody that works at MOR if you're interested in figuring out how to get over, this tough market that we're in and how to help your realtor partners if that's your business model.
Yeah, absolutely. So 100%. And guys, if you want to sign up to the newsletter, do not forget, we're going to actually have a link uploaded below. This will help you sign up to the newsletter so you can get all instant access of Roy's letters and anything that you need and anything that he's going to be creating for you. But stay tuned for the next episode of More Money. Bow, 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 bow.